today, and that's regrettable.
The Prime Minister promised Canadians to, and I quote, negotiate a victory. He promised have a deal by July 21st, 2025. Still no deal, still no victory. And American tariffs have actually doubled. But today, the Prime Minister made his biggest concession of all. He promised to push $1 trillion of investment out of Canada into the United States of America, which will drive down Canadian wages and Canadian jobs. Why is it when the Prime Minister goes for lunch at the White House, it's Canadian workers on the menu?
That's right. The Honourable Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister and his colleagues are at the White House today, advancing Canada's interests, advancing Canada's trade interests, advancing our interests in foreign policy generally. And I know that the hopes of all Canadians accompany our Prime Minister to those meetings where he will very, very clearly defend the rights of Canadian workers and of the Canadian economy. I sure hope the Leader of the Opposition is among those Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The Prime Minister casually said, and I quote, $500 billion in the last 5 years alone of Canadian investment has left to the U.S. And he said probably $1 trillion in the next 5 years if we get the agreement that we expect to get. In other words, he made a massive $1 trillion concession before the deal was even signed and without getting anything in return. $1 trillion of exit investment means closing mines and factories in Canada and opening them in the U.S. Why did the Prime Minister sell out our workers on his visit to Washington?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Speaker, we do not need Donald Trump's permission to open mines and roads and infrastructure in Canada. That's exactly what we're going to be doing, is building Canada with Canadian labour, Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, and Canadian lumber. If he's referring to the Maple 8, the pension funds that Canadians are so proud of and invest in, who invest all over the world and take their profits back to Canada to pay Canadian pensions, well, I say bring that on too, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This government has already admitted that we have a problem with Canadian pension money leaving Canada to create jobs in other countries. They even created a Brookfield-run program to bring it back. But today, the Prime Minister promised the President that Canadian government policies would drive $1 trillion out of our economy into the American economy over the next 5 years. That is twice as bad as has happened in the last half-decade. This means lost jobs and lower wages for Canadians who already can't pay their bills. Again, why did the Prime Minister sell out Canadian workers in his visit to Washington?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
You know what Canadians feel when they see the Prime Minister and ministers in the Oval Office defending Canada? Mr. Speaker, they feel pride. They feel pride that this Prime Minister is standing up for our country, standing up for our workers, standing up for our steel industry, and these crazy hair-eyed schemes that the Leader of the Opposition comes up with just to get in the news cycle are quite frankly a little embarrassing.
Mr. Speaker, all the hyperventilating in the world will not change the fact that the Prime Minister casually said in the Oval Office today, he bragged that $500 billion Canadian investment dollars have left for the States in the last 5 years, and then promised that $1 trillion more will leave in the next 5 years. That'll mean mines closing in Quebec and opening in Pennsylvania. It'll mean mills closing in BC and opening in Washington State, factories closing in Ontario and going to Michigan. Why is it that the Prime Minister sells out Canadian workers, Canadian jobs, and Canadian investments in the White House?
Government House Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we have said all along that Canada will look after its own people with our own projects, our own labor, our own material. We'll be opening mines, we'll be opening ports, we'll be opening railways, we'll be opening our Arctic. We are going to continue to build this country and get a fair, good trade deal for Canada, and it'll be thanks to this Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker.
L'honorable député de Saint...
The honourable member for Saint-Jean.